none of you should ever say I'm too busy. Okay. I'm not too busy to do the podcast because I have 24 hours a day, and it literally only takes me an hour to put these together in my head and then get on here and record them. Okay. So what am I doing with the other 23 hours? Right. So I don't say I'm too busy. I say I made other things a priority. I suggest you guys start saying that. Stop saying you're too busy, because it's a lie. It's a lie. You're not too busy. You're just making other things a priority. All right, everyone. It has been a minute since I've dropped a podcast with you guys. And I was away this past week in Vegas for an event. And I got to tell you, you guys, you gave me some extra juice there, because a lot of you came up and asked about the podcast, told me about the impact the podcast is having on you. And you fired me up. You inspired me. And so I wasn't really planning on doing one this week because we've got a lot happening right now. And I had this realization yesterday. I was thinking about the podcast, and you guys know I like to fish, right? Well, here's the deal. I understand now there's a connection between me doing this podcast and fishing. Okay, stick with me for a second. I have not been fishing in weeks and weeks. Now, I did go spearfishing with my daughter on a weekend, and that was incredible. But I normally record my podcast during the week, and I also fish during the week. It's usually Friday mornings is when I'm fishing. Well, I haven't fished on a Friday morning in weeks and weeks and weeks. And here's the connection. I can go fishing anytime I want, but it's taking time away from other things, of course. And I've had so much on my plate at a high priority level that I'm not fishing. And that's why the podcast hasn't been happening. You guys, I love doing the podcast, but I do have to put everything in priority in my life, time-wise. You guys know I have this saying, none of you should ever say I'm too busy. Okay? I'm not too busy to do the podcast, because I have 24 hours a day, and it literally only takes me an hour to put these together in my head and then get on here and record them. Okay. So what am I doing with the other 23 hours? Right. So I don't say I'm too busy. I say I made other things a priority. I suggest you guys start saying that. Stop saying you're too busy, because it's a lie. It's a lie. You're not too busy. You're just making other things a priority. Okay. And so that's it, guys. So I guess what I'm saying is this: I need to go fishing more, because if I'm fishing, I'm doing podcasts. I've got things in order. Things are clicking. And so, I'm here doing a podcast right now with you. And I have plans to do some serious fishing over the next few weeks, because we are kind of in the thick of the best part of the season here in Florida. So anyway, that's not what the topic of this podcast is all about. The topic of this podcast is the power of live communication, real face-to-face communication. So here's the story. As I said, I was in Vegas. When I was there, I was asked to do a leadership training. I did the training, and we got some really good feedback. In fact, I can't ever remember doing a training in 16 years of this business that I had so many people asking for a recording, asking for, me to do it again. And so we are going to do it again. But I'm not in person. And here's the thing. I kept thinking, I think the reason that training landed so well, one of the reasons it landed so well, is because of the energy and the connection in the room. I was looking humans in their eyes. I was watching their body language, because I was delivering some pretty stiff information, which you should be getting at a leadership meeting. If you're attending a leadership meeting and all they're doing is making you feel good about what you've done, you probably were in the wrong leadership meeting. Leadership meetings are about being stretched, getting uncomfortable, telling people not what they want to hear, but what they need to hear. Okay. And I was delivering that. I was telling people what they need to hear. And I was getting great feedback. So the energy was there, my tempo. I was connecting with the audience. And a lot of the words that came out of my mouth, well, none of it was really scripted. I didn't have any notes. I had a slide deck. I'm not going to be able to recreate that in its entirety. Do I know what I said? Of course I know. I have an idea of what I said, but I tend to get off script quite a bit, like I did on this podcast. But that's the beauty of how I train is I connect, I can read the audience. And that's the point for all of you today in this podcast. I want you guys to understand that the highest level of communication is when you are in person live with someone. That can never be replaced. Now, like right now, I'm doing this podcast. You guys are getting this in audio. And if you're on the YouTube channel, you're getting it in video. Okay. If you're watching the video, you're getting this at a higher level of communication and connection. But audio is better than the written word because you're hearing my voice. You're hearing the inflection of my voice. Maybe you're hearing me smile when I say certain things. Maybe you can even feel my gestures in my hands by the tempo, the pace that I'm talking, okay? More so than on a written word. How does that translate to your business? Well, we are in the people business, in network marketing, communication. And so much communication today is done through text, messaging, words on a screen, not even words on paper, words on a screen that the reader has to interpret the importance of what you're saying, what's most important about what you're saying, and hold their attention. And so I'm going to run through a few things here. If you are, there's a time and place for texting, right? Or messaging, depending on the platform, or direct messaging. If you're, whether you're using Instagram to communicate, and I said communicate, it's not even really communication, it's information. But whether you're using Instagram, Facebook, text messaging, email, they're all different. They all have different names of the platform itself, but it's still just words on a screen. Okay. And they have their place. Okay. We use it all day. I use it all day. However, I was engaged in a conversation today that got the guy's attention, and I'm doing whatever I can to get them on a Zoom. They live completely on the other side of the country. And in this situation, listen, if this guy wants to take the next step, I will get on a plane and meet them in California. But I've already told him that I want to meet at our corporate office. I want to get face-to-face, eyeball to eyeball when it's a big conversation. And so for you guys, maybe you're trying to bring in your first new business partner, or maybe you're just trying to bring in your second, 10th, or your next big leader. I'm going to tell you guys, do whatever you can to be in person. Now, if that person's on the other side of the world or the other side of the country, I get it. But at a minimum, jump on a video conference or at least a phone call. Okay. Don't leave your future success to text messaging and words on a screen. That is like the lowest form of conversion. When you can get with someone in person. And so you're going to have to be the one that decides, how bad you want this and how, what you're willing to do to chase your dreams in this business. But I'm telling you, the good stuff happens in person, whether it's an event, an opportunity meeting, or maybe you're just meeting someone to overcome their objections. Do that in person. That's why this business, network marketing, I believe, was so much more powerful before social media. And some of you might, want to debate that or argue that because you're like, well, I have such a bigger reach with social media. Yes, you do. But you don't get that connection that happens in person and the speed of the duplication. I have witnessed that people that rely on social media, their businesses actually grow slower because it takes longer for people to make a decision on social media. It takes longer for people to build trust on social media. Whereas if you are reaching out to people in your immediate area, and then those people are reaching out to people in their immediate area, we've got dozens upon maybe hundreds or thousands of coffee meetings and live meetings going on where there's people and connection in the room. And that is far more powerful than words on a screen. So I heard it again this past weekend. We had some people that flew back from Vegas, and they were trying to get a new business partner. And if I'm getting the details right, they get back, and the very day they get back, they met in person with this prospect, and the guy came into the business. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that's the only reason that they came into the business because they were in person, but I am saying when you are together, I had a guy recently where I wanted him in my business because he's a fantastic guy, super, super good guy. And I could have called him, I could have texted him, but I got in person with him. I looked him in the eye. He saw my body language. He saw my posture and what I was offering to him. He could see it was for real. He could see my smile. He could see my enthusiasm. He said, yeah, let's do this. And he joined me. So the message today, guys, is don't underestimate the power of doing this in person. It's a lost art. And I want you guys to start looking for ways to do this business in person, because I know it might seem slower at first. It's actually not. It might be a little slower at first, but in the long run, it's much faster when you're teaching people to do this. I'm not saying to not do social media and not connect on social media, because I've built a global team because of social media. I'm not getting on a plane just to go meet with someone in Australia. Fortunately, today we have technology with cameras and Zooms and video conferencing, and we can do the next best thing, right? So anyway, you got two lessons in this podcast, right? No excuses on your time. Prioritize your time. I've talked about this in previous podcasts. I'm back and I'm going fishing. So you guys are going to laugh. Now, every time I'm doing podcasts, you're like, he's fishing too. And hey, listen, you know where a lot of my ideas for the podcast come from? You got it, while I'm fishing. So anyway, take this one and run with it, guys. Challenge yourself, make the sacrifices, get in front of humans, and you watch how fast they convert compared to chasing them through text messages and emails and phone calls. Okay. Stop that foolishness. Get in front of them. All right. We're back in the saddle. We'll see you guys next week.